Kindly like the video and subscribe our channel for daily updates. So today we are going to get started with C#.NET Core, or you can say C# on .NET Core. So prerequisites you should know. So I'm not expecting any kind of prior programming knowledge for this course. If you have some basic understanding of programming, that is well and good. And you need to install Visual Studio 2019 Community Edition. This is free. You can get it for free. And these are the operating system requirements. These are the processor requirements, RAM, hard disk. So these are the things that you need to have. I hope everybody, you might have installed Visual Studio 2019 Community Edition on your systems. .NET exists in two flavors in the market. Whenever we say .NET, as of now, .NET is available in two flavors. First is your .NET framework. This is the old .NET framework, you can say. So we had latest .NET framework 4.7, I think, release. And another is .NET Core. So our course focus. So we are going to focus on .NET Core. We are going to learn .NET Core. Before we get into what is .NET Core, let us try to understand why do we need or what we can do with this .NET Core. What can we do with this .NET Core? So we can develop any kind of application using .NET Core. We can develop any type of application, any kind of application using .NET Core, whether it is console app in the sense any application that runs on command prompt, black and white screen. So I can develop console app. I can develop Windows app. Windows application in the sense any application that requires you to install on your system to use it. Say for example, MS Office is Windows application. Your Visual Studio is a Windows application. So I can develop Windows app. I can develop web application. And we have seen the difference between Windows application and web application in our Pre Bootcamp. So web application is an application that is installed on the server and you can access it from the clients which are in the network. For example, your Gmail is web application. So you can develop console app, you can develop Windows app, you can develop web app, you can develop web APIs, or you can say services, Windows services, mobile apps. Now the latest releases of your .NET Core is supporting IoT, Internet of Things. It is supporting machine learning. It is supporting artificial intelligence. So a lot of things, anything in simple words, you can develop any kind of application that you require with the help of .NET Core. You can develop applications like console app, Windows app, web app, mobile app, web services, Windows services, anything. Now, the next question that comes into our mind is why are we going for .NET? There are two basic reasons. There are a lot of reasons. We have many things, but two ground reasons I'm just discussing. First thing is .NET is language neutral. Now, what do you mean by language neutral? on this .NET framework, you can use any programming language. You can use C#, you can use C++, you can use VB.NET, you can use J#, you can use F#. So you can use any programming language on this .NET framework. The only thing that you need to learn is syntax. Because see, for example, the advantage of using any programming language, what does it mean? It means that, say, if you are working in C programming language and you want to go to C++, then there are two things that you need to learn. First is syntax, another is the library, class library, you can say. Syntax has small case, uppercase, quotation close. You need to have semicolon, bracket open, bracket close. All these things comes under syntax. And the other thing is library. Like in C programming, if you want to print something, you use printf. If you want to read something, you use scanf. So this library is important. When you go to C++, if you want to print something, you say cout. If you want to read something, you say cin. So you have totally different library. You have different library in C, different library in C++. You have different file handling functions in C. You have different file handling functions in C++. So whenever I want to shift from one programming language to another programming language, I have to learn two things. One is syntax, another is class library. Now you tell me, what is the difficult thing to learn? Is it the class library or the syntax? Very good. It is class library, exactly. It is class library, the difficult thing to learn. If you go to Java, the class library is different. System.out.println. So what Microsoft did, Microsoft created a standard class library. A standard class library. We call it as frame class library or base class library. You can say anything. And Microsoft said that whatever programming language you want, you use it. Class library will remain same. Only syntax will change. Say for example, in C++, if you want to print something, then you use console.writeLine. In C#, you use console.writeLine. In VB.NET, you use console.writeLine. In J#, you use console.writeLine. So it created a standard frame class library or base class library. You can say anything. It has created a standard class library, standard file handling functions. So all these things, file handling functions, anything related to your programming, you need some classes that you use. So it has created a standard classes or a class library that any programming language can use it. It means that it is language neutral. First thing. And the special thing about .NET Core is that it is operating system neutral. Means what? Earlier versions of .NET framework, you can develop .NET applications only on Windows platform. But now you can develop .NET applications not only on Windows platform but also on Linux, Unix and Mac operating system. So it is language neutral as well as operating system neutral. It is language neutral as well as operating system neutral. This is the specialty about .NET Core, and this is the difference between your older framework and newer framework. .NET framework and .NET Core. So why are we going for .NET? Because it is language and operating system neutral platform. Now if I mix these two sentences, then I can say what is .NET or .NET Core. It is a language and operating system neutral platform on which we can develop any kind of applications. on which we can develop any kind of application. Anyway, our course focus is on developing web applications. Developing web applications. So are you all good with this? I hope now you people can simply define what is .NET. You can say that it is a, or what is .NET Core, or what is .NET 5. I will change it to so. Now I will not say .NET. I will neither say .NET Core nor .NET Framework. I will simply say .NET 5. Whenever I say .NET 5, it means that it is .NET Core 5. Now we will just try to understand its cycle. Now language neutral, as I told you, language neutral means what? You see, in C++, syntax is different. Console : write line. Class library is console write line. In C#, syntax is different. You say dot, console dot write line, and you have semicolon. In VB.NET, you need not to have semicolon. It is console dot write line. So we are changing programming language, but class library remains same. This means it is language neutral. Now I hope the things are much clear. The meaning of language neutral. Very good. Now .NET schedule. See, we got .NET Core 3.1, 3.0 in July 2019, and then September 2019 we have got various versions, and from here onwards they made November as standard. November 19 we got .NET Core 3.1. Now what Microsoft did, they skipped .NET Core 4. Why? Because we have .NET Framework 4 and .NET Core 4. So there will be a kind of confusion. So what they did, they stopped any kind of developments or any kind of enhancements on .NET Framework. So .NET Framework 4, 4.6, 4.7, whatever it may be, the latest release. So they stopped there, and now they started working completely on .NET Core, and they moved from .NET Core 3.1 to .NET Core 5.0 directly. Now they are not calling it as .NET Core. Now we call it as .NET 5.0. That's it. .NET 5.0. Are you all with me? So this is the latest release. Now I will say .NET 5. I am working on .NET 5 means what? Yes. Soon they will not support .NET Framework. Now if I say I'm working on .NET 5 means what? Yes, versions. I'm working on .NET Core. If I say .NET 5, I'm working on .NET Core. It means that. Now let us see the release report or the dates for your .NET 5. .NET 5 release dates. You can see this. Here you have, and here you go. They said that .NET Core 3.0 will be .NET 5 in the coming year. So this is your .NET 5. So now they have released everything unified. Desktop applications, web applications, cloud, mobile, gaming, IoT, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, AI, everything. Now Visual Studio for your Windows operating system, Visual Studio for Mac operating system, and Visual Studio Code for your Linux, Unix, you can use it on that. So this is .NET 5 and .NET Standard library. Anyway, so this is the pictorial representation of the things that I told you. Now downloads, you can see that. Release date. 10 means October, right? It is November now. So 13th October they released version 5. You can see that. RC1 preview releases. Preview means you can test it. You cannot use it in production for live projects. So preview 4. So we got from preview 1. So the latest is version 5.0.0, that is 5.0, and RC means what? These releases are supported for production. They have a go live license. That means you can start using 5. It means that the full version. Visual Studio, you need to have Visual Studio 2019. If you want to use 5, you should have Visual Studio 2019, and its version is 16.8. You can see, I'll go to Visual Studio, it is 2019. And you can say about Visual Studio. It is 16.7, but what is required? 16.8 is required. So you need to find out the update and you need to update it, and then you can install for Windows x64. You can install this, you can download this installer and you can use it. And C# programming language it will support. So this is SDK used for development, and this is runtime used for running the app. That's it. If I say SDK software development kit, you need to install this to develop and run the application. When I say runtime, you need to install this to just run the application. Application we have developed. Now I want to just use that application. Then you need this runtime environment. So we call it as runtime environments. So anyway, as of now, don't get very much worried about all these things. Slowly and steadily you'll understand these things. Just I wanted to show you that we have release candidate, you say RC. So now we are with .NET 5. Now basic differences, just I wanted to tell you. In .NET framework 4.6, 7 or 8, whatever may be the latest, or the best term could be .NET 4.x. .NET framework 4.x. It is our old framework enhanced that we have been using for a decade. It is not open source. This is the important point. Not open source means you cannot see the source code of .NET framework. So how they have developed, what is the programming behind console.writeline, what is the programming behind console.readline, so what are the various class library and how they have coded those class libraries. You cannot see that. It is not open source. So its source code is not available. And it can target only Windows operating system. Your old .NET framework can target only Windows operating system. These are the two important points you should remember always. First is .NET framework is not open source. Second, it can target only Windows operating system. And it has all the old modules, Windows Forms, ASP.NET Web Forms, MVC, Web API, SignalR, Web Pages, WPF. So a lot of modules we have in our old .NET framework. Now .NET Core 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 3.1. Now .NET 5. .NET Core is .NET 5. It is new framework similar to .NET framework maintained by Microsoft and .NET community on GitHub. That means it is open source. Its source code is available on GitHub. its source code is available on GitHub. It is open source. You can see the source code if you want. I will show you. .NET Core 5 on GitHub. In GitHub, you have the complete source code. So this is source code available. Source code is available here for .NET Core. You can see that the source code is available. ASP.NET Core on GitHub. See, you have source code. You can see the source code. See, .cs files. So this is the source code which is available. For MVC. Anyway, we are going to learn filters, controller action filter. Now this is the source code. Are you all getting the things? So .NET framework source code is available. So it is open source. I'm just explaining, or I'm showing practically the meaning of open source. You might have heard about open source many times, but the practical meaning of open source is this. Its source code is available. And it also means that it is free. Like you have seen community edition, it is free. Earlier we used to have only express edition or trial versions. It was not free. Now it is totally free. And you can read out the license for commercial use also. For small companies, few members, you can use it for commercial use also. So you just read out the license for this. The first point is it is open source, and second point, we know very well it can target any operating system. And in your earlier versions, that means .NET Core 2.0, 2.1, you do not have all the components like Windows Forms. You never had Windows Forms there. You just had ASP.NET Core and some universal Windows app. That means all the components, like you can see here, you have a lot of components. Windows Forms application, WPF, SignalR, these were not available in .NET Core earlier versions. But from .NET Core 3.x onwards, Windows Forms is also available, WPF is also available. So everything is available now. Now we have .NET 5. Now what I can say? .NET 5. We have everything. Is this clear? Do anybody have any doubt? Now, if somebody asks you what is the difference between .NET Framework and .NET Core, there are two things that you can or you can say 3 points. 3 points you can say. There are 3 points to say. First is .NET framework is not free, whereas .NET Core is free. Second, .NET framework is not open source. .NET Core is open source. .NET framework supports only Windows operating system, whereas .NET Core supports all the operating systems. If you say these 3 points, that is more than enough. And now you can say that after .NET Core 3, the new releases of .NET Core is .NET Core 5, and .NET Core 5 is called as .NET 5, not .NET Core 5. So from here onwards, I will say .NET 5. So we are working on .NET 5. So .NET was language neutral, .NET Core is operating system neutral, single sentence difference. So I hope this much theory is enough. So you should be in a position to speak about something about your .NET framework, .NET Core. Now you tell me if you have any doubt. Do anybody have any doubt? Yes, Microsoft will soon stop supporting .NET framework. It will only support .NET Core. That's why we are learning .NET Core. The future is .NET Core. Core is the name, we will understand. .NET Core has many modules like CSharp we are going to learn. Then we learn entity framework. It also comes under your .NET Core. .NET Core is a framework that contains various packages. Like CSharp is one package, programming language. Then entity framework is another package for data access. Then web API is another package for services. So in this way you have various packages in that. So it is a kind of container, you can say, which has various packages in it. Fine. Now we are not saying framework, we are saying .NET, that's it. Now getting started with our first C# program. Now C# is a programming language. So you can write any program, any C# program in any text editor. Say Notepad, you can write your program in Notepad. And you need to compile the program and then run the program. Normally, whenever we write a program, we compile the program first, then we run the program. So we can do all those things from our command prompt. Now, whenever we write our program, you need to save your program with an extension of .cs. C#, like C program has an extension of .c, and your MS Word document has an extension of .doc or .docx. So in the same way, your C# program has an extension of .cs. So whenever we write our C# program, we need to compile. So the compiler is CSC, C# compiler. So whenever we compile the program, then we get the code which is ready to execute. So after compilation, whatever the code we get, we call it as assembly or intermediate language or Microsoft intermediate language. These are the names. Whenever we compile the program and we get the result, that result is called as assembly or intermediate language or Microsoft intermediate language. And physically it exists in the form of DLL or exe. We will see what is the meaning of DLL and what is exe. But we need to compile the program first, then we get the output, and whatever the output we get, we call it as assembly or intermediate language or Microsoft intermediate language or DLL or exe. These are all various names that we give to the output that we get. Now we run this program, we execute the program to get our desired result, final output. So this is your source code. We normally do not share the source code. What we do, we compile and we share the compiled version of our code so that they can run or execute it to get the output. Now don't worry, we will just do it practically. We will see the demo, then the things will be more clear. I need a notepad. Now first thing, our program starts with class. Our program starts with class. Class C is in small case. Class, name of the class is program. You can give any name, I am giving program. Bracket open, bracket close. Now in this class we have a method, public static void main m caps. So your program execution starts from main method. And in this I will say console C caps dot write line. It is case sensitive. Welcome to the world of .NET 5. Semicolon. I want to print this message, that's it. So I say console.writeLine. Now the definition of console.writeLine is in system namespace. We call it as namespace. Console.writeLine means it will print something. Now if I want to print something, I use console.writeLine. But where is console.writeLine available? It is available in the namespace. We call it as namespace. Using system is the namespace. Now namespace is exactly same as packages in Java, or it is similar to header files in your C programming language. So anyway, as of now, you don't worry much about namespaces. Yes, this is library, exactly. This is library. So I have, written my simple program. Now I'll save this as, I will go to bootcamp 5 and .NET 5. Both the things are now matching. I will name it as, I will give the same name, program.cs. program.cs. Save this. Now you can see that in your bootcamp 5 C# we got program.cs. Now I need to, let me close this. Now I need to compile this program. How do I compile the program? As I told you, I need to go to command prompt. So I'll go to Visual Studio. Visual Studio 2019, I'll explore this. Now you see developer command prompt. So I right click, pin to taskbar. So I got my developer command prompt here. Here I have my developer command prompt. I'll start this command prompt. Now I will go to cd, change directory, right? Cd, go to ecolon. I'll say ecolon. We are in ecolon, then I'll say cd. In ecolon, what do we have? Bootcamp 5. In this, I'll say cd. We have CSharp.net. Now dir, we have our program.cs. So program.cs I need to compile. So CSC, C# compiler. Are you all with me? Is it visible, everyone? Just we have moved to that particular directory where we have our program. Simple thing, nothing complex. We move to the directory where we have our program, ecolon bootcamp 5 C#. So here we are, ecolon bootcamp 5 C#.net. Ecolon bootcamp 5 C#.net. CSC compiler. CSC space program.cs. Now this is how I compile. If there is no error, my command prompt, on my command prompt, cursor will be on the command prompt back. That's it. Now there is no error, no problem, everything is perfect. Now if I go back and see, you see an exe file. That is your intermediate language or assembly. As I told you, whenever we compile the program, we get an exe. I can see dir. Yes, now we compiled the program, that's it. After compilation, we got exe file. Now I will execute. So to execute, I'll just write the program.exe. Program.exe. It is an executable file. You get the result. Welcome to the world of .NET 5. Is this clear, everyone? We compiled the program, we got the exe, and we executed the exe. That's it. If you want, you can add some more line of code. Console.writeLine, press enter, and I will say console.readLine. This is similar to your getch in C. Just it will wait for you to enter something. So I say console.readLine. That's it. Save this. I need to compile again. If I execute, it will run the old program. So I have made the changes. So I need to compile again. I'm compiling it again. There is an error. It expects semicolon. You see that. It is expecting a semicolon. Now I'll save this. Now again I'll compile. Now program got compiled successfully. Now I'll run this. Program I can write, no need of program.exe. Program is also fine. If I write program, it will execute the program executable file. Now it is asking you to press enter. Back on the command prompt. Now this is your new executable file. So this is your main program. Now if you want, you can simply double click this. We executed the program. So this is the application that we have developed, in other words. I don't know whether you people are getting it or not. This is the final application and we execute this. Double click this, it gets executed. This is your source code. This is your compiled version. Assembly, intermediate language, or Microsoft intermediate language, whatever you want, you can say. As I told you, your DLL or your assembly physically exists. I'll just change it to the large icon. Physically exists in the form of exe or DLL, as I told you. Physically exists in the form of exe or DLL. DLL stands for dynamic link library. Exe stands for executable file. So when we compile, either you can generate exe or DLL. Just now we have seen we have compiled to generate exe. Now if I want to generate DLL, this is how I have to compile. CSC C# compiler target is library. Now I want to generate DLL of same program.cs. Earlier I was simply saying CSC C# compiler and program.cs. So it was generating exe executable file. Now I want DLL. So this is how I compile to generate DLL. Now you can see that it has generated DLL. Now what is the difference between exe and DLL we will see shortly, but just remember this is how you generate DLL. Target as library. Now I want to generate dynamic link library. If I want to generate exe, then this is how you generate exe. If you want to generate DLL, this is how you generate DLL. Have you understood, everyone, how to generate exe and how to generate DLL? I have shown everything. As I told you, whenever I compile, I can generate either exe or DLL. These are the physical forms, and we call them as assembly, intermediate language, or Microsoft intermediate language. But now we will call it as DLL. If I want to generate DLL, we call it as DLL. If I want to generate exe, we will call it as exe. I say that I have compiled my program to generate exe, and I will say that I have compiled my program to generate DLL. Now, what is the difference? Yes. What is the difference between exe and DLL? What is DLL? What is exe? And what is the difference between exe and DLL? And what does this exe and DLL contain? Now, what is the difference between exe and DLL? Now, if I double click this exe, it gets executed. So exe is an executable file. Now, if I double click DLL, it won't get executed. So DLL is not an executable file. Then what is the use? The use of DLL is reusability. If you want to make a reusable component, say for example, you might have worked on MS Word and MS Excel, right? You might have worked on MS Word and MS Excel, right, everyone? I hope you might have worked on MS Word and MS Excel. Now, if I want to search something in MS Word, how do I search? If I want to search something in MS Word, how do I search? Control plus F, very good. If I want to search something in MS Excel, same, exactly the same. Same, I say Control F to search in MS Excel, I say Control F to search in MS Word, I say Control F to search in MS PowerPoint. Now, what do you think? Have they coded the same thing again and again, the searching logic? No. What they did, they created a DLL. They created a DLL, and they are using the DLL in the exe. Like if you see, your notepad dot exe, actually notepad is an exe file, notepad.exe. See that it is opening in notepad. Now I'll say Control F to find something. Test. Find up. Got it? Now exe is our actual application which has a lot of DLLs associated with it, which are reusable. So exe cannot be executed standalone, but it can be used by, DLL cannot be executed standalone, but it can be used by exe. Say for example, this is search DLL. Say this is search DLL, and this is your MS Word exe. So MS Word is using search DLL, and you have another exe, that is Excel. Your Excel exe is using same search DLL. There is another program which is using search DLL. So if you want, you can create your own program that can use this search DLL. If your program is not programmed well and this DLL gets deleted, then your Word application stops working, your Excel application stops working. That's why sometimes you download some games and you play some games. If that game is not properly programmed or it has some virus, it will go into your system and it will try to delete some DLLs, and then you see that my old applications, they stopped working. So anyway, in short, exe is the actual application that uses DLLs. So DLLs are the building blocks. Now when you say you are installing any application, means what? You are copying DLLs. If you go to C and you have program files and you have installed a lot of things, right? Microsoft SQL Server we have installed. See that we have installed DLL. We have installed DLL. Library you should have. We have installed DLLs. Actually, I have not installed. Okay, .NET we have. Visual Studio. Do you see all the DLLs? Are you all with me? Now do you see notepad.exe? It is in Windows folder. C:, in Windows. You should see lot of DLLs. DLL notepad.exe. You see it is an exe file. I'll double click this. You get a notepad. I hope now things are crystal clear. Whenever you install any application, means what? You are copying DLLs. Whenever you uninstall any application, means what? You are removing DLLs. You'll have set of DLLs along with an exe. That exe uses those DLLs. Now, do you want to see how your exe or DLL code looks like? Intermediate language disassembler, ILDASM, and you write your program.exe. There is no DLL for Notepad. Notepad is in exe. Now you see that it has opened program.exe. Now this exe has manifest and our program class. It has class, constructor, default constructor, and you have main method. In main method, if you see, you have entry point because it is in exe, and this is your assembly language. This is how it looks like. Your intermediate language or your assembly language looks something like this. You have string, welcome to the world of .NET 5. Then we said console.writeLine. As I told you, it is in system namespace, and this system namespace is available in MS core lib. This is DLL. MS core lib is a DLL. We are using. You see that we have got MS core lib, MS core lib.dll. So we are using this MS core lib.dll. Are you all with me? This MS core lib.dll I will stop. Here we have MS core lib.dll. Open file location. You see it is in Windows X MS core lib, MS core lib.dll. This is the DLL which has system namespace. MS core lib. We are using system and it has console.writeLine. So MS core lib, it has console.readline. So this is exe. And now I will use DLL. Same thing. It has manifest file and the class. So any assembly, whether it is exe or DLL, it will have manifest file and information about the class. We call it as metadata. Manifest and metadata. If you see manifest, it contains the information about the assembly. This assembly is using MS core lib, and it has a program. This is the version, program version we are using, and it is DLL module. So manifest file contains the information about assembly, and metadata file, we call it as metadata file, it contains the information about the class. We have only one class program, so you have one metadata file. You see main method. It does not have entry point because it is DLL. Now if I write one more class, if I want, I can write one more class. And in this class, and this class C should be in small case, I will write a method public void display, and it has nothing in it. Let me save this, and now let me compile this, generate DLL. Cannot be. Okay, let me close this because we have opened, right? So it says you cannot make the changes. Now compile this and also generate an exe. Now let us see how does it looks like. You see you have two metadata files. display method. It has nothing. So in other words, in simple words, you can say in simple words, assembly means whether it is in exe or dll, whatever it may be, assembly contains manifest and metadata. Manifest has the information about the assembly and metadata has the information about the classes. So your assembly can have multiple metadata files because you can have multiple classes, but it can have one and only one manifest file. Now let us see this in PPT. Assemblies are building blocks of .NET application. We will say we will remove this framework word from here onward. We will say .NET application. Assemblies are building blocks of .NET application. They form the fundamental unit of deployment, hosting, installation, similar words. An assembly is a logical unit of code. Assembly physically exists as DLL or exe. Every assembly file contains information about itself called as manifest and information about the classes called as metadata. I hope these points are clear. Can we have multiple manifest file for a particular assembly? Everyone. Can we have multiple manifest file for a particular assembly? Can we have multiple metadata files? What does a metadata file contain? What is assembly? What is assembly? Okay, you can say assembly is the compiled version of your code and physically it exists as DLL or exe. See, just I'm giving you an hint. See, it is in your hands. Anyway, you people are experienced people, you know very well. You people can manage. It is in our hand to, you know, take the interview in your way, or let the interview be taken in your way or as you like. Say for example, in the interview, if they ask what is assembly, say for example in the interview, if they ask what is assembly, so you can say that assembly is the you know, basic building block of any .NET application, and any program that we write and we compile it, so it will generate assembly. And normally assembly physically exists in the form of DLL or exe. If you give this answer and if you keep quiet, then they'll definitely ask what is the difference between DLL and exe. Then you can say, okay, DLL is a reusable code, reusable unit or reusable code, whereas exe is an executable code. We normally use DLLs in our exes. So DLLs are also called as some components. Sometimes we call them as component. So we call it as component based programming. Initially we were working on object oriented programming, then we thought of reusing the objects and we came into component based programming. So now they'll start asking what is object oriented programming. So I mean to say, you can you know, manage the interview in a way that the interviewer should ask the questions that you want. So if you give lot of interviews, you'll get you know, that experience how to manage that. But anyway, so there can be lot of interview questions from this point, like what is the difference between .NET framework and .NET core? I hope you will can answer that. And what is the difference between .NET core and .NET 5, right? So what is .NET? So what is .NET framework? How is .NET core different from .NET framework? What is the latest version for today? The latest version is .NET core 5. So we call it as .NET 5. So Are you all good with this? Do anybody have any doubt? So we have seen the demo for assembly and all these things. Now getting started with Visual Studio 2019. I'm thinking to get started with Visual Studio 2019 tomorrow. I think today this is enough, some theory part, some basic things, and those who haven't done the assignment for SQL Server, they can complete that. And you people can also just have a walkthrough on this theory part. This theory part has got a lot of things, like what is frame class library or what is base class library. What do you mean by language neutral? So a lot of things, you may face in the interview. So our actual programming, we never do it in Notepad. We will do it in Visual Studio. So we will try to explore Visual Studio tomorrow, and we'll start working on our programming, basic programming tomorrow. So do anybody have any doubt in this? I hope you people might have learned a lot of things today, and you might have really enjoyed today's session. I don't know whether how many of you are actively listening and actively sleeping. Are you all good with your laptop system settings and all those things? Or still someone has to set up their system? See, we have learned everything, everything practically, like DLL, exe. See, theory practically in the sense I have shown, like, we have seen Notepad. So if once you see the things practically with your real-time examples, then you will have confidence in answering the question. How do you get the confidence? You get the confidence through experience. So in other words, I'm also, teaching experience, you can say. Now you people can answer DLL and exe with a lot of confidence. Is it not? So this confidence is important. What we see in the interview is the confidence. So this confidence will take you to the next level. Understanding the things with the real-time, what you can say, real-time examples and real-time scenarios will give you the confidence, and confidence will take you to the next level. So anyway, this is enough for the day. We'll continue tomorrow. Have a nice day. Thank you very much.